Good evening, everyone. Here I was thinking that I'm going to get my Sunday classes cancelled. Yeah. Anyways, in last class we were talking about how can we know about ancient history. We talked about various sources. We talked about sources such as written records or epigraphy or numismatics also. That can also be a source. Then we started our discussion about stone ages of India. And our main topic was of course Indus Valley civilization. वहाँ पे question आप expect कर सकते हो prelims mains दोनों में. We will discuss some of those questions in today's class. But before that I was talking about some of the aspects of Indus Valley civilization. We talked about its urban features, that how urbanization was, what are the main features of urbanization of Indus Valley cities. Then we talked about things like, I guess, political setup or the social stratification or the major aspects of economy, things like that. Language that remains undeciphered. There is a theory that the language which was spoken by people of Indus Valley, the same language is even today spoken, especially in southern India. But again, that is a theory, that there may be some sort of similarities. That theory can only be confirmed once we decipher their script, that what they are actually writing. So this is a theory. Some historians and some linguists have theorized this, that maybe Dravidian languages have similarity with languages of Indus Valley civilization. So a lot of things are frankly theories. We have talked about this, that many questions cannot be answered with a lot of certainty. For example, what type of political setup or what type of social stratification, things like that. But nonetheless, there are few things जिसको हम answer कर सकते looking at the objects, looking at all the artifacts which have been found. So in today's class, I'm going to mainly talk about main features of some of the important settlements. So अभी तक हमने एक overall एक feature discuss किया है, but I'm going to talk about features of some important settlements rather than an overall picture, right? So just give this heading, profile of important cities. Profile of important cities of IVC. Important cities of IVC. So you can make a table. For example, you can make a table. जो city है, its location and important discoveries. So the very first is Harappa. Location will be in Pakistan. Right now it is in Pakistan. And you should also know if it is located near some river, you should know the name of the river. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro case में तो पता भी होना चाहिए. So this is along the banks of Ravi River. If it is in Pakistan, just knowing this information is enough. If it is in India, you should also know in which state we are talking about. In important discoveries, you can write down few things in bullet points. It was the first city to be discovered. It was the first city to be discovered. By the way, there are two persons who are very important for the discovery of Indus Valley civilization. The first person is a person named by Alexander Cunningham, who was also the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. When British, I'm talking about, of course, British India, that Alexander Cunningham, who was the first Archaeological Survey of India, under his guidance, the excavation work started. And the formal announcement that a new civilization has been discovered, that was done by a person named John Marshall, again associated with ASI, but that only happened in 1924. And The excavation under Alexander Cunningham that started as early as in 1870s. I think in 1872 the excavation process started. आप लिख सकते हो, आप in fact you can mention it. एक तो आप ये लिख लो that this was the first site to be discovered of IVC. The excavation started under Alexander Cunningham, and a formal announcement of discovery of new civilization. Formal announcement of discovery of new civilization was done by John Marshall. Both of them, by the way, are associated with Archaeological Survey of India from British India. Right on. In Harappa, cubical weight sandstone statues of human anatomy, copper bullock cart, terracotta figurines, terracotta is a type of material. Terracotta figurines, granaries, coffin burials, have been discovered. Right on. एक पॉइंट इसी में लिख लेना. This site did not divulge a lot of information. Because the bricks of structure were used by railway engineers. So again, we are talking about the time period where railway construction in India had started. The first railway 1854, Bombay to Thane, and then in other part of the country. So as it was happening in the region of Punjab, and Punjab I'm including Punjab of both India and Pakistan. So in this construction, lot of bricks were carried from the railway engineers, and because of that, many structure actually did not survive. But the second city is Mohenjo-daro. जो मोहनजोदारो है, that is, its location will be Indus River, on the banks of Indus River. In Pakistan. In discoveries, you can write down second city. It was second city to be discovered. Many discoveries such as Great Bath, Great Bath, Granary, Granary, Unicorn Seal, Unicorn Seal, Dancing Girl statue of bronze, Dancing Girl statue of bronze, a steatite statue, steatite, steatite is a type of stone, a steatite statue of a bearded man who is, by the way, often called priest king or philosopher king, which I was talking about in the last class. Bearded man have been discovered. Have been discovered. The most famous, of course, is this great public bath, part of Citadel itself. Now, Citadel, by the way, one thing which I forgot to discuss in the last class, that the Citadel said they were fortified, that there was a structure to protect Citadel. That is why also one of the theories that this may have been a place where elites or ruling class may have lived. That some sort of defensive fortification is found around citadels. Dancing Girl statue, even today you can find it in National Museum. The Pashupati seal, we have talked about Pashupati seal. So Pashupati seal, that was also found here. And the bearded statue, I think I have this picture now. Okay, I do not have right now. Next is Dhaulavira, a very important site. Dhaulavira. Now this here is right now in Gujarat. Gujarat. In its feature, you can write down few things. Write down in bullet points. It was recently inducted into UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was recently inducted into UNESCO World Heritage Site. World Heritage Site. The first city of IVC to be inducted in this list. The first city of IVC to be inducted into this list. Inducted into this list. It is located in Rann of Kutch. It is located in Rann of Kutch. It is known for its efficient water management system. Efficient water management system with a giant reservoir anyways, this is the picture I was talking about. Priest king. All of these important artifacts, because Harappa and Mohenjo-daro and Dhaulavira, by the way, these three sites are the most well developed sites of Indus Valley civilization. So Dancing Girl, Pashupati seal or Priest king, all these important artifacts, they have been discovered at Mohenjo-daro. I will repeat, such type of information, UPC does not expect that you recall each and every archaeological discovery from all these sites. after Indus Valley civilization. There will be some sites known for its epigraphy, epigraphical evidences जहाँ से हमको मिलते हैं. जैसे अशोकन इंस्क्रिप्शन का जो लोकेशन है वो हमको पता होना चाहिए, दैट अशोकन इंस्क्रिप्शन कहाँ कहाँ पे मेनली मिलता है. बट आफ्टर दिस you do not have to go into this detail. And the reason we have to go into this detail right now, because frankly we do not have any other source. We only have archaeology as a source. And that is why archaeological findings are important for you, for prelims as well as perhaps for mains examination. Right? Write down the next point. It is the only city to be divided in 3 parts. It is the only city to be divided in 3 parts. 3 parts. The walls in this city, are made of sandstone or limestone, instead of mud bricks. So especially I'm talking about the lower town hai. So there are 3 parts. So there is a citadel, there is a middle town, and then there is a normal settlement. It's very difficult to know the exact feature. That citadel chalo fir bhi common hai across all the settlements, not all, but across most of the important settlements it features a citadel and it features a lower town. जो भी important settlements है, हड़प्पा हो, मोहनजोदारो हो, धौलावीरा हो, but in Dhaulavira now we have this extra structure called middle town. So there are many theories surrounding middle town, but very difficult to pinpoint that what exactly its purpose was. It also has, this site also has dams and embankments. This site also has dams and embankments. Dams and embankments. Next is a site called Banwali. This is in Haryana. In Haryana, एक लाइन बस लिख लेना इसमें. The town plan was in radial pattern. The town plan was in radial pattern. Radial pattern. Rather than rectangular pattern. Rather than rectangular pattern. So imagine Connaught Palace. Inner circle, middle circle and outer circle, right? So you have this radial pattern of city compared to normal distribution which are rectangular pattern. So this is the only site where the urbanization features a radial pattern. एक और लाइन इसमें लिख लेना. A terracotta plough model has been discovered at this site. So basically it signifies agricultural produce, that we also find large haze of barley and other type of food grains here. So this may have been a very important agricultural settlement, right? It may have supplied agricultural requirements of important cities throughout Indus Valley civilization. The next is Surkotara. Surkotara. This is in Gujarat. Location is Gujarat. एक लाइन में बस लिख लो. Horse bones have been found from this site. horse bones have been found from this site. From this site. Another very important site is Lothal. That is also in Gujarat. Lothal. Right down here, it is near Gulf of Cambay. It is near Gulf of Cambay. It was a port town. Gulf of Khambat जिसको हम बोलते हैं. It was a port town. It was a port town known for dockyard. Known for dockyard. Other important discoveries are fire altars, a board game similar to chess, rice husks, among others. Next is Kalibangan. Now this is located in Rajasthan, and this is near जो Ghaggar river है. So Ghaggar river, which is considered a remnant of Saraswati, whatever is left of Saraswati river. So this is near Ghaggar river. Kalibangan literally translates to black bangle in current times. आप लिख सकते हो. It is known for fire altars, camel bones, evidence of earthquakes, wooden plow model, among others. Another very important site is Chanudaro. Sorry, there should be H here also. This is located right now in Pakistan. It is known for a bangle factory. And bead making. Bangle factory and bead making. So very important for craft production as such. एक लाइन इसमें और लिख लेना. No citadel has been found at this site. No citadel has been found at this site. Rakhigadi. This is again in Haryana. Rakhigadi. It is among the largest settlements. It is among the largest settlements known for granary, fire altar, and discovery of a game very similar to Pittu. If you have played it, then you will know what I'm talking about. A game very similar to Pittu. Even today, children play this game. And Rakhi Gari is also very famous for one more thing. That now, इस बार आपने Nobel Prize in Biology पढ़ा होगा. तो आपने पढ़ा होगा कि this Nobel Prize in Biology was basically given to know about how to do genetic analysis on remnants. For example, on Neanderthals, if you have a remnant of Neanderthals or any type of animal bones which you have found, how can we do genetic analysis on something which, by the way, which died thousands of years ago? So this discovery played a very important role in development of population genetics, which I was talking in the last class, that how one population is related to another group of population. So Rakhi Gari mein many skeletons were found and DNA analysis was done on those skeletons. So all of this information which I told you in the last class, that we share our genetic lineage, and when I say we as Indians, and that includes both North Indians and South Indians, that at least about 35 to 40% of our genetic lineage does belong to people of Harappa, right? And that is true for both ancestral North Indians and ancestral South Indians. तो जो पूरा theory था that there was an Aryan invasion and because of that people of Harappa moved towards south and they are now Dravidians and North Indians are Aryans. This theory is not actually correct. In fact, it is nowhere near correct, right? So I will talk about that also. Aryan migration के बारे में भी हम आज की क्लास में डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे, that why it even today remains a very debatable issue. But nonetheless, we just ये जो genetic analysis done on this skeleton which was found at Rakhi Gari, that has been very useful in reconstructing to know about who were people of Harappa. तो आप ये भी लिख सकते हो. DNA analysis of skeletal remains. DNA analysis of skeletal remains from Rakhi Gari have been very useful to know more about people of Harappa. To know more about people of Harappa. There is another very famous site Shortugai. Now Shortugai is one of the, in fact, let me show with the help of a map, that it is very far away from the mainland settlement. So it is a trading outpost. आप लिख सकते हो. It was a trading outpost. Near Oxus River. Oxus River is what Amu Darya River is. It flows through mainly Afghanistan and parts of Pakistan. Oxus River, ब्रैकेट में आप अमू दारिया लिख सकते हो. It was a trading outpost. Near Oxus River. Bracket में you can mention Amu Darya River. Oxus River in Afghanistan, far away from other settlements, far away from other settlements, far away from other settlements. It was located near lapis lazuli mine. It was located near lapis lazuli mine. Lapis lazuli mine. So by the way, these are some of the most important sites. We have talked about Harappa or Kalibangan, Rakhigari, Lothalir, Surkotara, Dholavira, Mohenjo-daro. These are some of the most important sites of Indus Valley civilization. But apart from that, there are as many as perhaps 2,000 sites belonging to Indus Valley civilization. But the excavation work has only been done about in 10 to 15% of these sites. And simply because there is a lot of human settlement and extending the excavation work, that is going to be very challenging. So बहुत सारा excavation work frankly हुआ भी नहीं है. But nonetheless, we have discovered as many as 2,000 settlements, and out of those 2,000, at least about 1,200 to 1,300 belongs to what we call mature Harappan phase, जो urban phase civilization है. There are many sites which belongs to early phase also and late phase also. So some other important sites are, give this heading, some other important sites are Manda, write down in bullet points, Manda. Why Manda is important? Because of the all mainland settlement, this is the northernmost settlement. I am not including Shortugai here because Shortugai is a trading outpost. So if across all the mainland settlement, it is the northernmost settlement. And however, if let's say for example, if there is a question in exam that which of the following is northernmost settlement of Indus Valley, and if one of the option is Shortugai, then mark this correct, right? ये correct नहीं करना है, Manda correct नहीं करना है. तो आप लिख सकते हो located in Jammu and Kashmir. Located in Jammu and Kashmir. I actually have to go and see that it will be in Jammu or Kashmir because both of them are UTs now. So I will have to confirm that. But write down, it is the northernmost site. It is the northernmost site of the mainland settlement. It is in Jammu. Of the mainland settlement. I will repeat. If option is Manda as well as Shortugai, then I am going to mark Shortugai as the correct answer. Agar Shortugai nahi hai, then the correct answer will be Manda. Right? That should be very clear. Malwan. Next is a site called Malwan. Located in Gujarat. Located in Gujarat. It is the southernmost site. It is the southernmost site of mature phase of IVC. Southernmost site of mature phase of IVC. Now this is also important. Now this map here basically shows, I think I have taken this map from Upinder Singh textbook, and here you can find Malwan here as the southernmost site. But if you actually go and look at the map of late Harappan phase, then southernmost site will be Daimabad, which is in Maharashtra. So again I will repeat, in mature phase civilization, Malwan is the southernmost site. But if option में खाली ये दे रखा हो, that which of the following is southernmost site, not mentioning that it is about mature phase, then the correct answer will be Daimabad. आप ये भी लिख सकते हो इसी में same point में, Daimabad of Maharashtra. Daimabad of Maharashtra is the southernmost IVC site. Is the southernmost IVC site belonging to late phase or late Harappan phase, belonging to late Harappan phase. So I am giving you both of this information. Depending upon what is the question, you can answer accordingly. If let's say for example Daimabad mentioned ही नहीं है, right? Daimabad नहीं mentioned है, but Malwan is mentioned. In that case, Malwan will be the correct answer. That is in Gujarat. But if Daimabad is mentioned, then the answer will be Daimabad. ये याद रखना है. Daimabad belongs to, यहाँ पे जो evidence मिलते हैं, we find evidence of late Harappan phase. We are talking about rural settlement, not exactly urban settlement, but rural settlement. Then another very important site is Sukta Gindor. Sukta Gindor. It is the, write down, it is the westernmost site in Pakistan, which was used for trading with Mesopotamian civilization. Which was used for trading with Mesopotamian civilization. Mesopotamian civilization. And one more you can write. Quote Diji. Quote Diji. Quote Diji is also interesting because of two reasons. First, it is exactly opposite to Mohenjo-daro. So both are on the Indus River bank, but exactly opposite to Mohenjo-daro. And another reason is that it also has evidence of early Harappan phase. So it has evidence of both late Harappan phase. So we also find it in case of early phase, and we also find it in case of late Harappan phase. So just exactly opposite to Mohenjo-daro. आप लिख सकते हो. It is located in Pakistan. Opposite to Mohenjo-daro. Opposite to Mohenjo-daro. Opposite to Mohenjo-daro. It also has evidence of early Harappan phase. It also has evidence of early Harappan phase. Early Harappan phase. It also has evidence of early Harappan phase. I will get these maps uploaded after today's class itself. And I just wanted to go through the important sites, like just one by one, go through the names. Just go through the names, what are the important names and where they are located. We already have talked about some of the most important one, but apart from that, if you want, you can further write down 4-5 more names. Just knowing that they are Harappan sites and knowing their current location is more than enough. Okay? जो important features हैं, उनके साथ जो हमने sites जैसे चानू-दारो हो गया या मोहनजोदारो हो गया, why they are famous, और धौलावीरा, why they are famous. I think जो भी हमने discuss कर रखा है, that should be more than enough. One last topic of IVC, give the heading Decline of Civilization. Decline of civilization. Decline of civilization. this remained a politically debated issue. I told you in the last class that one of the earlier theories, which was used a lot by British historians as well as early Indian historians, that a group of tribe known as Aryans, they had access to horses, they had access to iron, and people of Harappa, because they did not invest as such a lot into defense or into, let's say for example, some sort of fortification, so they were not very much planned, and because of an invasion, many people were died, many people were killed, and many people scattered from the cities, and they went to different part of the country. This became a very popular theory, but this theory has been rejected by most of the historians. Any sane historian will not believe in this theory simply because you have no evidence of Aryan invasion per se. If had there been an invasion, then it would have left some sort of archaeological mark, but we simply do not find it. Just one death, there is just one site where few dead bodies, 5-6 dead bodies are found in same pit in a very random manner. There is a discovery in Mohenjo-daro, by the way, that 5-6 dead bodies are found in same pit in random manner. And this was used as an evidence that maybe a violent death occurred because of some sort of clash, and that led to, so basically Aryan invasion theory ka jo ek evidence hai. But there can be many possible explanations of that, and saying that it occurred because of an invasion, that simply is not true. So the most accepted theory right now is that this region, subcontinent region, was going through some of the climatic changes. And in fact, जैसे आप जियोलॉजी पढ़ोगे, ज्योग्राफी की क्लास हुई है, तो ज्योग्राफी में आपको जियोलॉजिकल एज के बारे में बताया थोड़ा बहुत कि जियोलॉजिकल एज को हम कैसे क्लासिफाई करते हैं. तो जैसे एक कॉन्सेप्ट होता है पहले ईओन का, दैट वी डिवाइड दिस इंटायर जियोलॉजिकल एज इनटू ईओन्स, देन दोज ईओन्स आर डिवाइडेड इनटू एराज, eras are divided into epochs, and epochs are divided into ages. ये पढ़ा होगा. तो right now, for example, we are living in what we call Anthropocene epoch, right? We are living in a new epoch, जिसका starting हम मान सकते हैं last century से, especially for example जो World War II है. Any new epoch has to leave a significant mark on the entire planet. In case of Anthropocene epoch, that significant mark can be the nuclear test done by US and USSR. That all of this nuclear explosion, one explosion on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Apart from that, both US and USSR conducted hundreds of nuclear tests. All of that left a mark. So that is the beginning of a new epoch, which is called Anthropocene epoch. There are many identifiers of Anthropocene epoch. Another identifier can be, very interestingly, bones of chicken. Chicken जो है, chicken का population at any point of time in world is about more than 20 billion, more than human beings. But they live, of course, a very short life. And because of consumption of chicken meat, the chicken bones are scattered throughout the planet. So that is again another marker of Anthropocene epoch, that how the entire geological structure is changing because of human beings. But before Anthropocene epoch jo hai, the epoch which was called, it was called Holocene epoch. Holocene epoch is basically that world ended from one ice age and a new epoch started. And जो Holocene epoch के बहुत सारे ages होंगे, again remember eon, one eon divided into many eras, one era divided into many epochs, and one epoch divided into many ages. तो जो last age of Anthropocene epoch है, that is called Meghalayan age. The reason it is called Meghalayan age, because we find evidence of a significant drought, and वो जो एविडेंस सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट हमको मिलता है वो मेघालय से मिलता है. देर आर केव्स इन मेघालय जहाँ पे जो जियोलॉजिकल फॉर्मेशन है, दो जियोलॉजिकल फॉर्मेशन फर्स्ट टाइम इट वाज डिस्कवर्ड, एंड वी फाइंड सिमिलर जियोलॉजिकल फॉर्मेशन इनटू डिफरेंट पार्ट ऑफ दिस रीजन. हेंस द वर्ड इज कॉल्ड मेघालयन एज. तो जो मेघालयन एज है, दैट रिप्रेजेंट्स अ सिग्निफिकेंट ड्राउट नॉट जस्ट इन इंडिया but in other parts of the world also. For example, even before decline of Indus Valley, Mesopotamian civilization declined. Around the same time, Chinese civilization also declined. China is a civilizational nation, but some of the great kingdoms existed in China at this point of time, but they also declined. And from that decline, again, there is a re-emergence. That is a separate story. So it is not just in India, but in other parts of the world also. So the most accepted theory is that maybe monsoon wind pattern was changing. Some tectonic movement may have led to changing of river course. That may have led to flooding into some areas. But more importantly, because of changing monsoon, a significant drought in other areas that may have started the drying up of Saraswati river, right? So when Aryans came to India, Saraswati river was still there. It was a very important river because Saraswati river is considered as one of the goddesses, important goddesses in Vedas. But in the course of time, the Saraswati river dried up. But the process may have started as early as when there was mature phase of Indus Valley civilization. And because of all of that, when agricultural produce was not enough, and Mesopotamian civilization has already declined, जो trading है, that has also declined because this was an economy. Apart from agriculture, trading constituted a very important part. Hadappans involved into an extensive trade. We have talked about this in the last class, that they maintained not just inland trade, but trade with many other contemporary civilizations. So with decline in trade, with decline in agricultural produce because of flooding and drought, no longer there is agricultural surplus. And remember, for any civilization to survive, the prerequisite, the sine qua non, will be agricultural surplus. So with no agricultural surplus, now you do not have produce which can sustain such a large population. And in the course of time, people moved outwards. And by 1800 BC, we found that there is all cities were deserted. 1817, so this process may have started perhaps in 2000 BC, continued for next 100 years, 1900 BC, which is considered as the end of mature phase of civilization. It may have continued for next 100 years, but by 1800 BC or 1700 BC, we found that none of the cities are, they do not have any inhabitants. जो भी हमको हड़प्पन evidences अब मिलते हैं, we find those evidences into rural settlements. And those rural settlements now are not exactly connected with each other, right? So this is the most accepted theory regarding decline of civilization. आप लिख सकते हो? However, at the same time, I should tell you one thing, that one question which still remains unanswered, that what happened to script or what happened to this language which Hadappans spoke. तो एक थ्योरी ये है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल की जो द्रविडियन लैंग्वेजेस हैं, दे मे हैव बीन derived from Harappan languages. But then what happened to script? ये जो way of writing है, what happened to it? Because ऐसा तो नहीं है कि all of the people died suddenly. ऐसा तो नहीं है, ऐसा कहीं पे evidence हमको नहीं मिलता है. We find that people migrated to different regions as part of what we call late Harappan phase. So we have to assume that these people knew how to write, but what happened to the writing? Why has it not survived? Only we find writing in the case of Harappa, but after, and by the way, this writing is not alphabetical. This writing has a lot of pictures, right? Very similar to जैसे Egyptian civilization में जो हम use करते हैं. It's not alphabetical per se. We also know that this writing is from left to right rather than, sorry, left to right जो भी हम लिखते हैं, right to left. This writing is from right to left. So what happened to it, we do not know. One of the theory can be that जो later writing है, it may have used perishable items. And perishable items, let's say for example, if you're using any type of biological mechanism, आप birch of tree use कर रहे हो या leaves use कर रहे हो, they will not survive. They will decompose in the course of time. So that can be one explanation, that people even though maintained writing, but those writings have not survived because they were used perishable item. So this may be one explanation, but at the same time, I should tell you that it remains an open question. That what happened to the script, Harappan script? Why we do not find evidence of similar script in any part of the country in late Harappan or in Vedic age or in later ages, right? तो आप लिख सकते हो. The civilization declined around 1900 BC. Around 1900 BC, and by 1800 BC, most of the cities were deserted. Most of the cities were deserted. An earlier theory suggested that an Indo-European tribe called Aryans Indo-European tribe called Aryans invaded and conquered Harappan cities. Invaded and conquered Harappan cities. However, recent evidences contradict this claim. Recent evidences contradict this claim. The most accepted theory is that civilization declined because of change in climatic patterns, such as changing monsoon wind, that may have led to flooding in some areas, but significant drought in other areas. The Saraswati River may have started drying up. During this period. Once the agricultural produce declined, there was no enough food for large population of Harappan cities. People migrated towards Ganga Basin, where they established villages and isolated farms. I found this very interesting picture of all the different type of necklaces, and just say for example, I was talking about lapis lazuli. This will be an example of a necklace made of lapis lazuli, a blue colored precious stone. So shell working, bead working, lot of things. Another very interesting feature of Harappa is the type of weights they used. So जो lower weights were binary, in the sense that, by the way, Harappans, they used standard weights and measures. ये हमने discuss किया था last class में. But even in standard weight, there is a very interesting feature that जो lower weights हैं, they were binary, that they increased twice, 1, 2, 4, 8, things like that. But जो larger weights हैं, they used decimal system. For example, then becomes 10, 100 and 1000, things like that. So you find binary increase in weights in case of smaller weights, but using decimal system in case of larger weights. And this again is, we found at, especially along all the important settlements such as Harappa or Mohenjo-daro or Dholavira. So anyways, the first and a very important topic which you can expect questions from in both prelims as well as mains examination. In fact, let me discuss some of the questions. All questions are from UPSC, previous year question. Which one of the following ancient town is well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management by building a series of dams and channelizing water into connected reservoir? That is a very simple question, right? Dholavira. What about question number 2? इसको कैसे करोगे? तो ये ऐसे बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस में मिलेगा नहीं. फॉर एग्जांपल बर्जोहम एलिमिनेट करना बहुत आसान है. बर्जोहम इज बेसिकली अ नियोलिथिक साइट नोन फॉर इट्स पिट ड्वेलिंग कल्चर, नॉट नोन फॉर इट्स रॉक कट श्राइन्स. बाकी के जो 2 ऑप्शन है, थर्ड वी नो दैट इज ट्रू, वी डू नॉट हैव टू बॉदर अबाउट थर्ड, बट वी एक्चुअली हैव टू नो अबाउट सेकंड स्टेटमेंट. चंद्रकेतुगढ़, इज इट नोन फॉर टेराकोटा आर्ट, राइट? सो अब ये जो चीज है, दिस इज समथिंग अब 50-50 वाले क्वेश्चन है. इफ यू नो द फैक्ट देन इट शुड बी इजी टू एलिमिनेट, बट इफ यू डू नॉट नो देन इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. अब दिस इज अ प्रॉपर जजमेंट कॉल. इस टाइप के साइट्स, इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आपको मिलेंगे ही मिलेंगे एग्जाम में, और ये बिल्कुल जजमेंट कॉल वाली बात है. दैट हाउ मच रिस्क एपेटाइट डू यू हैव, आप कितने सेटिस्फाइड हैं अपने अटेम्प्ट से. आई मे हैव टोल्ड यू ड्यूरिंग साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी क्लासेस ऑल्सो that if you can eliminate one option, do not attempt those questions. If you cannot eliminate any option, of course do not eliminate. If you can eliminate one option also, then also do not attempt. If you can eliminate 2 options and in rest of the 2 option it is exactly 50-50, now that is a proper judgment call depending upon which topic we are talking about. जैसे ये फिर उस पे आ जाएगा कि आपका एप्टीट्यूड इस पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट में कैसा है, आपका एक्यूरेसी कैसा है. ये सारी चीजें आप प्रीलिम्स करोगे तो क्लियर होगा. आई थिंक द आंसर हियर इज 2 and 3. द सेकेंड इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. दिस इज अ लोकेशन इन पश्चिम बंगाल. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. अब ये थोड़ा सा हम आगे अभी पढ़ते तो और क्लियर हो जाता, बिकॉज देर इज वन लोकेशन हियर विच बिलोंग्स टू some other site which we haven't talked about as of now. So this question would have been even more clear once we complete Mauryan Empire. But in any case, Desalpur actually is a Indus Valley site. यहाँ पे जो सोहगौरा है, सोहगौरा is actually a Mauryan site, very famous for its Ashokan inscription. Right? There is a copper plate inscription found from Sohagora. So C is the correct answer, that it is not a Harappan site. That is why I told you that just knowing about important site, that can be quite helpful. Solve question number 4. Now you should be able to solve this question. There is a question by Hamza that R.A. Sharma says that multiples of 16s were used in weights in IVC. Change that information. In case of lower weights, it was used multiples of 2, 4, 8, 16 binary system. And in case of large weights, it was decimal system. Anyways, what about question number 4? So much variation. Some online students are saying B also, C also. Anyways, look at the statements. Regarding Indus Valley civilization, consider the following statements. It was predominantly a secular civilization and the religious elements, though present, did not dominate the scene. अब ये जो चीज़ है, this is based on historical interpretations. जो भी आर्कियोलॉजिकल साइट्स है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल एक चीज़ बहुत क्लियर होनी चाहिए कि हाउ मच रिलीजन प्लेड अ रोल इन द डे टू डे लाइफ. इट्स अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन टू आंसर जस्ट विद द हेल्प ऑफ आर्कियोलॉजी. बट वट एवर इंफॉर्मेशन वी हैव डिसाइफर्ड, जैसे एक चीज़ जो बहुत क्लियर है दैट दे डिड नॉट इरेक्ट ग्रैंड टेम्पल्स, मॉन्यूमेंट्स, but at the same time we do find figurines of male and female deities, mythical animals which may have signified some sort of religious procession. So not investing into afterlife which is very similar for contemporary civilization. तो सेकुलरिज्म का मतलब ये होता है कि रिलीजन, जैसे जो पूरा सेकेंड लाइन है वहीं से क्लियर है, दैट रिलीजन इज नॉट प्लेइंग अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल एज सच इन द सोसाइटी. सो एज पर आर्कियोलॉजिकल एविडेंसेस दैट विल बी कंसिडर्ड ट्रू, बट एट द सेम टाइम आई मस्ट tell you that this is only an interpretation based on archaeological evidences. The first statement is correct because we do not find some grand temples, we do not find any belief in afterlife, that people are spending a lot on religious processions or afterlife, things like that. So religion is there because we do find evidences of male deities, female deities also. But at the same time, it's not exactly what it was after Indus Valley or even during this time in other contemporary civilizations where religion did play a very important role. पब्लिक रिचुअल्स, तो ग्रेट बात का लेके एक जो बहुत डिबेट है कि उसका पर्पस क्या था. जैसे एक जो सबसे फेमस थ्योरी ये है दैट इट मे हैव सिग्निफाइड सम सॉर्ट ऑफ रिलीजियस सिग्निफिकेंस और इट मे हैव समथिंग एल्स ऑल्सो. सो अगेन दिस इज जस्ट एन इंटरप्रिटेशन. सो डिस्पाइट दैट द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज एक्चुअली करेक्ट, दैट फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट that even though religion is important, but religion is not, it did not dominate the scene. So that is why first statement is correct. UPSC was very choosy in framing this statement. So the way this statement has been framed, it is correct. अगर ये statement रहता that religious scene, religion जो है ही नहीं, we do not find any type of religious elements in the Indus Valley sites, that statement would have been wrong. Second statement is obviously correct. India has always been known for cotton manufacturing. We have not talked about it perhaps, but in agriculture we find evidence of rice, wheat, barley, cotton, all of that. And we are talking about a trading society, right? One of the things which were exported a lot, that was textile. There are many textile manufacturing centers across Harappan sites. So second statement is also correct. Answer is both 1 and 2 here. So such type of mistakes should not occur. One more question, 2 more questions, one more question. This should, I think you, all of you should get it correct. आप आंसर बताओ. Recent discovery. Huh? Okay, the answer will be B here. They possessed great palaces and temples is clearly not correct. They did not invest into grand monuments or temples. They worshipped both male and female deities. That is correct. They employed horse-drawn chariot. सबसे पहले तो उसी से आंसर आ गया आपका. There is no option with 2 and 3 only. 2 is correct and 1 is not correct. वहां से ही आंसर आ गया आपका. But in any case, third statement is not correct. That horses, evidences of horses we do find, but we are talking about horse-drawn chariots in warfare. We haven't even found a single evidence that people of Harappa were involved into warfare. तो ये सबसे पहले तो ये evidence पहले लेके आओ कि they fought wars with contemporary civilization or perhaps among themselves. We do not find any such evidence that they involved into warfare. They may have been, but we haven't found that evidence. And उसके बाद then we are talking about horse-drawn chariots. Horse, even though is known, but it was not a prevalent animal in Harappan civilization. So third statement is also not correct. आप जो बोल रहे हो that recently a chariot was, I will talk about Sinoli in the next topic. जो Sinoli का discovery है, I will incorporate that in the next topic. So this is the first and a very important topic. अच्छा, by the way, there is one more question. In fact, write this question. I will give you some time. Think about an approach कि आप इसको कैसे answer कर सकते हो. Not necessarily. For that we can be quite, depending upon the features, we can be quite sure of that we are talking about male and female deities, right? Write down this question. To what extent to what extent has the urban planning and culture of Indus Valley civilization, to what extent has the urban planning and culture of Indus Valley civilization provided inputs to the present day urbanization, to the present day urbanization. To what extent has the urban planning and culture of Indus Valley civilization provided inputs to the present day urbanization? Discuss. I will give you some time. Think about. I do not want answer आप घर पे जाके लिखना, but इसको approach कैसे कर सकते हैं? What are the main points? How you are going to approach this question? And as you progress, what will be your central theme into different bullet points or into different paragraphs? Anyone who would like to share their approach? How can we answer this question? कैसे करोगे, कैसे अप्रोच करोगे? ओके देखो क्वेश्चन बिल्कुल सही है, बट ये कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव नहीं होगा. देखो क्वेश्चन का एक पार्ट जो शुरुआत किया टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट, राइट? तो जब भी क्वेश्चन का कोई एक पार्ट हो टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट, तो एक चीज बहुत क्लियर है कि ऑल ऑफ इट और सम ऑफ इट. इफ इट इज सम ऑफ इट, देन व्हाट इज लेफ्ट and whatever is left, is it significant, right? If it is significant, you should definitely discuss that also, right? So because the question starts with to what extent, you should also tell some things which are not present or present in modern cities compared to Harappan cities, right? तो ये भी एक important part of आपका आंसर होगा, but nonetheless जो first part है आपका, that is quite valid. Anyone else would like to share? सेंट्रलाइज सप्लाई ऑफ, ओके ठीक है, वाटर सप्लाई ठीक है, ओके. व्हाट एल्स? अभी भी रेक्टेंगुलर प्लान, हाँ ये बिल्कुल ही वैलिड पॉइंट होगा. जो रेक्टेंगुलर प्लानिंग है वो हम यूज करते हैं. हाँ बहुत सारे जो सिटीज हैं, ठीक है, दैट इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. जो अर्ली सिटीज इंडिया में जो डेवलप हुए थे वो रिवर के लॉन्ग हुए थे, बिल्कुल ये भी बोल सकते हैं. ठीक है, दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी वैलिड. एक चीज बहुत क्लियर होनी चाहिए कि इस क्वेश्चन का कोई एक फिक्स आंसर नहीं हो सकता. आप कोई भी पॉइंट लिख रहे हो, यू शुड हैव योर बैकिंग एविडेंस टू सपोर्ट दैट. तो इस क्वेश्चन का कोई एक फिक्स आंसर तो नहीं है, बट अप्रोच इज मोर और लेस सेम. स्टार्ट विथ, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, स्टार्ट विथ इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन, 2-3 लाइन उनके बारे में लिखो, उनके अर्बनाइजेशन के बारे में 2-3 लाइन लिखो. टॉक अबाउट सम कॉमन फीचर्स फ्रॉम इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन एंड करंट सिटीज, कि कॉमनैलिटीज क्या हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कॉमनैलिटीज विल बी दिस रेक्टेंगुलर पैटर्न. Commonalities will be the fact that many cities in India were situated along rivers. That is also true in case of many cities of Indus Valley civilization, right? Commonality will be that lot of public infrastructure still is built in cities, which is also true for Indus Valley cities, right? So first talk about commonalities, that what are the commonalities, then talk about to what extent. अब जो second part होगा, so that part is equally important. that what do we find in Indus Valley cities which we do not find here, and perhaps what do we find here which we do not find in Indus Valley cities, right? So यहाँ पे देखो बहुत सारे points होंगे. जैसे few things you can clearly write that this focus on hygiene and this focus on water infrastructure, all of that is missing in current time. Modern cities are very unequal. They are not planned at all. There are very few cities which can be called that these are example of planned cities. जैसे चंडीगढ़ एक बढ़िया example हो सकता है, और perhaps जो Greater Noida develop हो रहा है, that is an example of planned city. But most of the cities in India are example of lack of planning. And the reason is very simple, because you see such a stark inequality that is only possible in case of unplanned settlement. In Indus Valley cities, we do not find such type of stark inequality. जो lower town है, that is more or less same. Even though even in lower towns, houses size are of different sizes, but this inequality is not very stark. ये भी हम लिख सकते हैं, right? At the same time, you can also highlight that even though we do not have any way of knowing about the population of Harappa, there are some estimates. For example, one estimate tells you that maybe 4-5 million. But the number of population today in major cities in India, that is much, much more than what it was during 2600, 2500 BC. तो ये भी आप एक highlight कर सकते हो कि we are facing much more pressure on our urban spaces compared to what it may have been. Again, the word you have to use is, it may have been during case of Harappan civilization. So I do think that you should also provide a contrast. Don't just compare, but also contrast the current urbanization with urbanization process of Indus Valley civilization. And then based on that, you can conclude. I think a very good conclusion here can be that you can write down that how we can learn few things from Harappan urban settlements, right? In terms of planning, in terms of focus on hygiene, right? ये सारी चीजें हम कैसे incorporate कर सकते हैं. तो ये एक as a conclusion आप लिख सकते हो, as a concluding remark आप लिख सकते हो. So do that. Try to write this answer. That can be your homework. But I will repeat, इसका कोई as such एक fixed answer नहीं है. But we can use an approach, and जितना आप example लिख सकते हो, try to incorporate examples now. Throw the name of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, or modern cities like Chandigarh here and there. That is very important. That don't just write points, also try to substantiate them with examples. Okay? So this is about, yes. I think that was only used by UPSC because there is nothing called urbanization as part of art and culture. But nonetheless, you can talk about some of the cultural elements. For example, you can talk about the bead making, or the fact that जो हम shell working जो है, जो craft tradition है, तो वो आप एक commonality में दिखा सकते हो. That even today there are certain cities which are very famous for their craft tradition, right? कुछ cities बहुत popular है, जैसे साड़ी कहीं पे बनता है, या कहीं पे shell working हो रहा है. So that at this time also, जैसे चानूदारो है, that is very famous for जो पूरा bangle factory है. तो you can talk about some similarities that depending upon what is their location. जैसे अगर कोई coastal city है, तो वहाँ पे shell working सबसे ज़्यादा होगा. तो even today we do find that coastal cities, they have this great craft tradition made from seashells. So you can talk about such type of similarities. But yes, we can incorporate that also. So anyways, this is first major topic. I will talk about Chalcolithic settlement and pottery culture, all of that, once I complete Mauryan Empire. कि Chalcolithic settlement के जो important settlements हैं वो कौन से हैं, and pottery culture India का क्या है. But the next topic which I want to discuss right now, that is Vedic age. So give this heading, Vedic age. Now this is the next phase of Indian history. Vedic age is divided into two parts. Early Vedic age, late Vedic age. Before I start any topic, I am going to talk in detail about the sources, that how do we know about this particular time period? What are the main sources which we have? In case of Indus Valley civilization, our sources were just archaeology and archaeological interpretations. But now we have written sources. We have availability of written sources, and those written sources are very useful to know about this time period, which is called Vedic age. Early Vedic age basically coincides with compilation of Rig Veda, which is the earliest Ved, and later Vedic age is that coincides with other three Vedas, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharva Ved, right? And all other type of Vedic literature. So the Vedic literature hai, that in itself can be divided into four parts. The first part is called Samhita portion. Now Samhita portion basically includes main hymns, जो भी Vedic hymns होंगे, that where gods are being invoked for different things. So that is called Samhita portion. Then that Samhita portion has to be explained into a prose manner. That is called Aranyak, which literally means forest book. That Aranyak further is interpreted in poetry, some sort of poetry, which is called Brahman, and should not confuse with Brahman as a Vedic literature and Brahman as a caste or as a Varna classification. They both are very different from each other. They both signify very different things. If I am talking about the term Brahman as a corpus of Vedic literature, then I am talking about explanation of these hymns, Sanskrit hymns written in Vedas philosophically. And the last and the most recent Vedic literature will be Upanishads, one of the greatest work of philosophy, not just in India, but perhaps anywhere in the world. जो Upanishads हैं, they try to now explain Vedas with the help of philosophy rather than focusing on rituals and sacrifices. I will talk about that also, कि Upanishads कहाँ से, how did that emerge. But Upanishads are the latest corpus of Vedic literature. So all Vedas can be divided into four parts: Samhita, Aranyak, Brahman, and Upanishad. So the Samhita portion of Rig Veda hai, that was compiled in early Vedic age. And other three portions, that is Aranyak, Brahman, and Upanishad, based on Rig Veda, as well as all four portions of other three Vedas, that was compiled in late Vedic age, right? तो यहाँ पे हमारे पास जो एक ही written source है, that is Vedas, which frankly is not a very good thing as a history, as a discipline, because first of all, Vedas are not work of history per se, they are religious work. And finding information which is useful for historians, that has proven to be very challenging, because you do not have any way to basically compare information from different sources and then try to extract that what is the most logical thing which we can infer. तो यहाँ पे आपके पास ज़्यादा कुछ reliance है नहीं. You only have to rely on Vedas, and again I will repeat, their religious work, not as such work of history. So, but before going into details about Vedas as a source itself, let's talk about the term Aryan itself, that what does it signify? Who exactly are Aryans? What are some of the important identity features of Aryans? So, two things. There is a it became a very politically sensitive issue. As part of, if you read world history, then you read about World War II, right? World War II was fought between two group of powers, one led by Germany, Nazis, right? And then you had Allied power. So Nazis का जो पूरा एक propaganda जो ये हो गया, that Nazis adopted the theory of Darwinism in society. Darwinism talks about survival of the fittest. But they adopted this into society, that there are certain races which are superior to other races, and they now have better claim to rule over other races. And as per Nazi propaganda, जो Aryan race है, so Aryan was a racial profiling done by Nazis, that Aryan race is the most supreme race, and Aryan race should rule over other races. So there is a racial hierarchy. In this racial hierarchy, Aryans are at the top and Jews are at the bottom. And Jews as such have no right to live. That led to their extermination on much larger scale. And about 8 to 10 million Jews died in concentration camps in Nazi Germany as well as in other occupied areas. So this term became politically very sensitive. They used swastika as a symbol, which again became politically very sensitive, right? Use of swastika. Even though swastika is an ancient religious symbol which belongs to many tribes, not just Aryan tribe, but many tribes. We find evidence of swastika in many different places. So, as of now, the term Aryan does not represent any type of ethnicity, any type of racial classification. As of now, the term Arya means a linguistic group, that a group of people who spoke common languages. तो सबसे पहली चीज तो ये क्लियर हो जानी चाहिए कि as of now the term Arya signifies a linguistic group, that a group of people who had कॉमन लैंग्वेजेस. जैसे अगर हम इंडिया का पूरा हम लैंग्वेज क्लासिफिकेशन करें, so जितने भी languages हैं, they can mainly be divided into 4 categories in India. In India, thousands of languages are spoken. And out of those thousands of languages, there are even tens of thousands of dialects, by the way. So all of these languages, not all of them, but most of these languages can be classified into 4 categories. One category will be called what we call Austroasiatic language. So the Austroasiatic language hai, that has similarity with some languages which are still spoken in Australia and in Southeast Asia. So we find that you have some tribes in Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha, that they speak language which is common to what is spoken in Southeast Asia and Australia. So again, remember we are talking about a phase of migration. That migration also may have occurred. Then there is another group of languages which are called Indo-Burmese languages. Indo-Burmese languages found commonality with Southeast Asia such as Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, these regions. And we find similarity of, even in China, similarity of Indo-Burmese language with many regions in Northeast. That in Manipur, Mizoram, or some tribes in mainland India also. And 2 most popular classification will be Dravidian languages, which mainly includes Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, right, Tulu also. Dravidian languages, and the most recent language is called Indo-European language, which almost all of the North Indian languages belong to, including Sanskrit, Hindi, Punjabi, all of the languages, Odia, Gujarati, all of these languages belong to a group called Indo-European languages. The same group where English or other Roman languages belong to. तो जो linguistic classification का अपना एक तरीका होता है, if you do the linguistic classification, then all languages of India can be divided into 4 categories. So group of people who spoke common languages, Indo-European languages, they are called Arya now. As of now, the term has no ethnic or racial significance, simply because it was used by propagandist groups for their own propaganda. तो एक politically बहुत sensitive issue है which exists at the world history level. Now the second politically sensitive issue is which exists at Indian level. जैसे एक theory जो बहुत popular था, that Aryans came from outside, invaded, conquered Harappa, and they are what upper caste North Indians are. And then Dravidians, who are inhabitants of Harappa, they moved to South India. This was used by Dravidian parties a lot. Even today they use it, this classification of Aryan versus Dravidian. But again, I will repeat, it does not have any scientific basis as such. Even though, I will repeat, even though genetic analysis pinpoints that group of North Indians and group of South Indians, ancestral North Indians and ancestral South Indians, that you have 2 group of ancestors, but both of these ancestors find genetic lineage with people of Harappa, right? So ये जो पूरा Aryan Dravidian classification and Dravidians are Harappans, this has no basis. And in fact, ये जो पूरा theory है dividing people of India on some line, on language line or regional line, that is doomed to fail simply because we are a civilizational entity, which I told you in the last class also. We are talking about a civilizational heritage of thousands of years. And yes, there are differences among many group of Indians, but at the same time, there are a lot of similarities. वो society में detail में discuss करेंगे कि ये जो unity and diversity हम बोलते हैं, उसका क्या मतलब है? What are evidences of unity and diversity? But in any case, as of now, the term is a linguistic term. And where did Aryans come from? That also became a very debatable issue. So there are so many theories कि ये कहाँ पे originate होते हैं. They may have originated, one theory tells you that they originated in Persia, in Syria, in Ukraine also, in Russia also, in Europe also. There are so many theories given regarding the origin of Aryans. And none of the theories were very powerful enough until when population genetics was evolved. So now, because of help of population genetics, we can actually find the origin of Aryans, that where they may have originated and what is the migration route they may have taken. So first of all, let me tell you the prevailing theories, that who are Aryans. So first theory is a group of tribe came from outside, from perhaps Central Asia, and conquered Harappa, which became Aryan invasion theory. This theory has no scientific basis. It has been rejected by most of the historians. The second theory is Aryan migration theory. Aryan migration theory. Now this theory has the most acceptance, right? Most acceptance. I'm not saying that every scholar has accepted this theory, but most of these scholars, depending upon many evidences, linguistic similarities, genetic similarities, especially ये जो दो level of analysis है, analysis of language जैसे जो संस्कृत है, what Aryans, early Aryans spoke, or early variants of Sanskrit, it does not have any similarity, or the script which they used, it has no similarity with script of Harappa. So linguistic analysis has one theory is, so this Aryan migration theory का जो basis ये है, that it occurred in India around 1500 BC, right? Another theory is that this migration is true, but this migration may have happened as early as 7000 BC, and all the tribes who came to India, they can be called Aryans, including Harappans, right? So this migration may have started from 7000, 8000 BC, and this migration occurred into phases, and all of the tribes who came to India, they can be called Aryans. So Aryan migration, but much earlier. Aryan migration, however, the timeline will be as early as perhaps 6000, 5000 BC. We do not find evidence of this. This theory also does not have a lot of acceptance, right? And then there is one more theory, that Aryans are indigenous. Aryans are indigenous and they spread throughout the world from India. Right? They spread throughout the world from India. This theory also does not have a lot of acceptance, mainly because of genetic analysis. Had this happened, it would have left some traces of genetic analysis. We do not, this theory also does not have a lot of acceptance. So the most accepted theory is, and again I will say that the most, not all of the scholars rely upon it. So I am going to also use this theory as my basis, that a migration may have started perhaps around 2500 BC from the homelands of Aryans, which is some region in Central Asia, and they may have migrated to different locations. In fact, because of genetic analysis, we have lot of evidence now that what is the migration route they may have taken. And one group of Aryans came to India, another group of Aryans went to Europe also. Because of that, Indians, especially North Indians, and Europeans have common genetic similarity. So yes, that is also true, that Indians, especially North Indians and Europeans, there is a genetic similarity. But that genetic similarity emerges because two phases of migration. In fact, this two phases may have occurred into many sub-phases. This migration it did not happen in one go, that all the Aryan tribes around 1500 BC came to India. This migration may have occurred in hundreds of years into smaller phases. Right? They initially settled around the Indus River, जहाँ पे हड़प्पन जो settlements है. This region they called it Sapt Sindhu because they found Indus River, which was called Sindhu, and its 5 tributaries. So 1 + 5 = 6, and the 7th river is Saraswati. तो जो initial settlement था, that was in the region around Punjab and Haryana. जो पंजाब, जो Indus वाला पूरा पंजाब region है, that includes part of India as well as part of Pakistan, and the Haryana region as well as part of Uttar Pradesh. That happened in the early Vedic age. They may have come into phases. There are many theories to support that. I will talk about it. They may have come into phases. Some sort of conflict definitely have occurred with local inhabitants, and conflict also occurred within Aryan tribes, because Aryan is one term, which is a linguistic term. But then Aryans have many clans. All of these clans are different tribes. Many clans are mentioned in Rig Veda, right? So these clans often fought war among themselves, and that is also given into Rig Veda. In Rig Veda, some wars are mentioned. For example, there is a very famous war mentioned called Battle of Dasragya, that where 10 tribes fought with each other, right? And in this 10 tribe, जो Bharat tribe है, that emerged victorious. And Bharat tribe एक्चुअली जो नाम पूरा भारत है, that comes from this Bharat tribe. And even across all the tribes, as many as 24, 25 tribes are mentioned, 5 tribes are considered the most important. They are collectively called Panchjana. And those who have some deep knowledge of Mahabharata, you will recall that the Shankh of Krishna is also called Panchjanya Shankh. So that term Panchjanya comes from the Panchjana of Rigveda. That there are as many as 24 Aryan tribes. But out of those tribes, 5 are the most important one. But these 5 tribes do not emerge victorious. The victorious tribe is Bharat tribe, and Bharat tribe now has the most influence, and the name Bharat actually comes from this Bharat tribe, right? So this is the early phase of Aryan history. In the course of time, they migrated to different regions of this country, and initially into Ganga Yamuna Doab region, that is what later Vedic age is, and later into, they completely now intermingled with already some early settlers, so a distinct type of culture with many culture which Aryans came with, and lot of culture which they integrated in the process of mixing with different group of people in India, and that led to lot of cultural similarity, right? But nonetheless, the religion they used, by the way, that religion also evolved a lot. You will find that in early Vedic age, Indra is the most important god, so is Agni, so is Marut, right? But in later Vedic age, we find that Rudra or Prajapati or Vishnu, they emerge as the most important god, right? So there are religious changes also. So it's not that everything which, all the ideas they came up with, those ideas remained the only ideas in India. These ideas, the people also interacted with many other people, and that led to emergence of new set of ideas with their ideas as well as ideas of early settlers into India, right? So this is the most accepted theory, that Aryans migrated around 1500 BC. So I'm mainly going to talk about that how things changed from early Vedic age to later Vedic age, and we are going to trace a period of about 1000 years, and we are going to simplify that 1000 years into very simple terms, but the actual process may have been very slow and may have been very, very complex. राइट सो ये जो 1000 ईयर का हिस्ट्री है, हम इसको बहुत ओवरली सिंप्लीफाई करके हम पढ़ने वाले हैं, दैट व्हाट वाज पॉलिटी, व्हाट वाज सोसाइटी, व्हाट वाज इकोनॉमी, व्हाट वाज रिलीजन, एंड हाउ ऑल ऑफ दैट चेंज्ड इनटू लेटर वैदिक एज, राइट? लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक हियर. आफ्टर दैट we will talk about, we will have some important dictation. There is a question by Rameshwar that on what basis can we say that this particular theory is more relevant than others? So the same basis which we use for any theory, evidences. We have to find evidences for particular set of theory. So our basis will be, if I am saying that Aryan migration around 1500 BC is the most accepted theory because we find most number of evidences for this theory. Just we have done genetic analysis on Rakhi Gari, we talked about this, right? We do not find any type of genetic similarity. Like we do not find that this, for example, if we can use the word genes of Aryan tribe, we do not find the same in people of Harappa. So one thing is very clear, that people of Harappa are different from Aryans. Another evidence is language itself, that the script which was used and the script which was used by Harappans and script which was used by later when Aryans came to India, they are not same. So both genetic and linguistic proof जो है, that pinpoints that we are talking about two distinct group of peoples. Harappans are not Aryans, right? तो ये clear है, ये चीज़ बहुत clear है. Apart from that, the timeline, when exactly the timeline is there, that is dependent upon a lot of things. For example, archaeology still remains a source. जो archaeological evidences हमको वैदिक एज से मिलते हैं, you can do the carbon dating analysis and that can give you a timeline. Another timeline can be genetic analysis itself, that genes mutate after few generation, and कितना mutation कितने time में हो जाएगा, इसको लेके भी थोड़ा बहुत एक mathematical calculation है, right? So that can, again, that's not exactly a well established science, I should be very clear about it, but nonetheless people use such type of methods to know about ancient tribes. So the basis is evidences. Anyways, give this heading, sources about Vedic age. Sources about Vedic age. Sources about Vedic age. write down, in terms of written records, in terms of written work, in terms of written work, the only source for this age, the only source for this age are Vedas, are Vedas. तो वेदास का जो पूरा टर्म है, इट कम्स फ्रॉम अ टर्म विद, विद बेसिकली मीन्स नॉलेज, विद्या जहाँ से आता है. सो द टर्म वेदा, विद, विद्या, all of that have common etymology. It has common origin. All of that basically comes from to know or knowledge. So write down, there are 4 Vedas. There are 4 Vedas. Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Ved, and Atharva Ved. Each Veda has 4 parts. Each Veda has 4 parts. Samhita, संहिता, इसमें एक लाइन लिख लेना. संहिता में collection of hymns, collection of hymns. अरण्यक, अरण्यक, interpreting hymns, interpreting hymns and rituals, rituals in symbolic and philosophical way, in symbolic and philosophical way. Brahman, Brahman, prose explanation of Samhita portion, prose explanation of Samhita portion, prose explanation of Samhita portion, and explanation of sacrificial rituals, explanation of sacrificial rituals, and last, Upanishads, Upanishads, philosophical ideas, philosophical ideas, philosophical ideas about sacrifices, sacrifices, the body, Atman, Brahman, and universe, and universe. So now I have used there are 3 different meanings of the term Brahman. Brahman, most popularly of course, is a caste or Varna classification, right? Brahman is also an important part of Vedic literature, but Brahman as a philosophical idea is entirely different from both of these two. Brahman, some sort of Brahma and creator, again all of that has a lot of philosophical meaning. I will, जब हम उपनिषद के बारे में थोड़ा हम डिस्कस करेंगे बाद में, जब हम महाजनपद एंड emergence of Buddhism and Jainism पढ़ेंगे, that why Upanishads emerged. So Upanishads are the latest literature. There are as many as 108 of them, but 13 are considered the most important Upanishads, right? जैसे एक सबसे फेमस जो हम सत्यमेव जयते पढ़ते हैं, that comes from मुंडक उपनिषद. Or for example, we find many instances that where women sages are mentioned. That not only there are sages, male sages, but there are female sages also. And many female sages, they are called Brahmavadini. And there are many famous cases of Brahmavadini from ancient India. जैसे सबसे जो फेमस नाम हो सकता है वो गार्गी हो सकता है, और मैत्री हो सकता है, और लोपमुद्रा. These are some of the most famous Brahmavadinis from Vedic age. जैसे the story of Gargi is quite popular in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad belongs to Yajurved. And Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is a dialogue between Gargi, who is a Brahmavadini, and a sage whose name is Yagyavalk. Right? So, Upanishads, and by the way, through this dialogue, that the story is that there is a king of Videha called Janak, and Janak has invited all the sages of the country for a philosophical debate. And he says that anyone who emerges victorious in this philosophical debate, they will be rewarded with some gold coins, some cows, etc., etc. And then Yagyavalk calls his disciples and tells them that you collect all of this. And then other sages are of course furious that you have assumed your victory without actually entering into a debate. Then finally a debate is organized. Most of the people refuse to debate with Yagyavalk, but some of them try to. But Yagyavalk defeats them very easily one by one until he finds Gargi. And then Gargi enters into a long discussion with Yagyavalk, and the discussion infuriates Yagyavalk so much that at one point of time he warns her that if you continue this line of discussion, your head is going to explode. Then Gargi changes her line of discussion. She asks some other questions. But in the end, Gargi accepts the supremacy of Yagyavalk, that there is no one else who knows as much as about Vedas as him. So Yagyavalk finally emerges victorious. तो ये जो पूरा जो discussion of Gargi and Yagyavalk है, which is the central plot of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, again, that is one of the greatest work of philosophy, not just of India, but one of the, perhaps in the world. In general, Upanishads are considered great work of philosophies. So जो Vedic literature है, Vedic literature have this status called Shruti literature. तो जो भी literature from ancient India which deals with philosophy, it can be divided into two parts, Shruti literature and Smriti literature. तो Shruti literature literally means that the one which you have heard. Shruti का मतलब होता है कि जो आपने सुना है. Now what it means is that nobody knows its origin, and the most accepted thing will be that maybe sages compiled this literature when they were in some sort of meditative trance state, right? Their higher level of consciousness, and that is when they compiled such literature. Compared to Smriti literature, which you remember. Smriti means you remember this literature, right? So orally transmission jo hai, and somebody did write it. So Smriti literature will be all these Dharma Sutras and epics also. All of these are examples of Smriti literature. तो जो Vedas है, they have the status of Shruti literature. आप ये भी लिख सकते हो. Vedas have the status of Vedas have the status of Vedas have the status of Shruti literature. Vedas have the status of Shruti literature, that is which has been heard. Which has been heard. They are considered eternal. They are considered eternal. Eternal. Self-existent truth. Self-existent truth, which were recited by sages in meditative state. In meditative state. Meditative state. In contrast, write down the next bullet point. In contrast, Smriti literature. In contrast, Smriti literature is one which has been remembered, which has been remembered, such as Vedangas, Puranas, epics, Dharmshastra, Dharmshastras, etc. Dharmshastras, etc. Vedas are, write down the next point, Vedas are, या Vedas comprise of, ऐसे लिख लो, Vedas comprise of many books. Vedas comprise of many books called mandala. Vedas comprise of many books called mandalas. For example, Rig Veda has 10 mandalas. Rig Veda has 10 mandalas. So अभी भी आप जाओगे in some temples, the Purohit will be called Mandaleshwar. So the term Mandaleshwar basically comes from the knowledge of mandalas of Vedas, right? Or even many surnames such as Dwivedi and Trivedi and Chaturvedi, that comes from knowledge of Vedas. So all of that surname comes from how many Vedas. For example, Dwivedi means knowledge of 2 Vedas or 3 Vedas, or Chaturvedi means knowledge of all the 4 Vedas, things like that. Anyways, give this heading Identity of Indo-Aryans. Identity of Indo-Aryans. So first thing first, it represents a linguistic group of people. It represents a linguistic group of people who spoke similar languages. Linguistic group of people who spoke similar languages. Aryans who came to India are called Indo-Aryans. Aryans who came to India are called Indo-Aryans. So what are some of the distinguishing features of Aryan tribes? So there are many similarities across many Aryan tribes, because again remember, Aryan tribes, it means lot of tribes which went to different part of the world. So first evidence, for example, is they did early domestication of horses. They used horses on much larger scale. That is an evidence of Aryan tribe. And that we find, this evidence we find across many Aryan tribes. Another evidence can be that they used what we call spoked wheel chariots. So chariots can be of 2 types. Chariots with solid wheels and then chariots with spoked wheel. The early use of spoked wheel chariot, it goes to Aryan tribe. However, somebody did point it out here about recent excavation. There has been excavation in one of the villages in Uttar Pradesh, which is called Sinoli. In Sinoli, in archaeological digging, we have found chariots. Some archaeologists think that it actually represents spoked wheel chariot, which belongs to about 1900 BC, which coincides with Harappan period. And our theory is that Aryans came to India about 1500 BC, right? So now there is a conflict. So this conflict can be resolved. However, this is a new finding. This conflict will be resolved with, that is how any discipline evolves. That based on this finding, historians are going to interpret this finding. There is some papers already have been established. A group of historians think that it is not actually a spoked wheel chariot. In the course of time, because of deposition or erosion, it seems like that it is a spoked wheel chariot, but it is not. But again, I will repeat this, that as of now, it remains unresolved. That this finding, how this will be incorporated in the existing set of knowledge, for that we have to wait for more research, more papers, and papers which are going to be accepted, जिसको सबसे ज़्यादा peer review हो, जिसका एक्सेप्टेंस सबसे ज़्यादा हो, दैट विल बी बिकम पार्ट ऑफ द डिसिप्लिन, राइट. तो जो सिनोलीज के डिस्कवरी है, आई विल रिपीट, सिनोली के डिस्कवरी, इसको लेके अभी भी डिबेट है, एंड व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इट रिप्रेजेंट्स एंड हाउ इट फिट्स इनटू all the existing set of knowledge, that remains open. So that is something which I should tell you. But nonetheless, जो spoked wheel chariot है, that is across many common Aryan tribe. Early use of iron, that is across again many Aryan tribe, right? Then there is another very important thing, that जो ऋग वेदा है and many other texts which are ancient texts from other civilizations, they are very similar. जैसे one of the most famous texts is of Zoroastrianism, that is Zend-Avesta. Now Zoroastrianism as a religion is what Parsis follow. आप सबको पता होगा बॉम्बे में बहुत सारे पारसीज हैं. So Parsis जो हैं, we call them Parsi because they came from Persian region. So when Persia was Islamized, then many people were given this ultimatum that either you have to convert, you die, or you have to move away. Many of the Parsis, many of the Persians, they came to India, and from there they settled into India, and that is why we call them Parsis. But even today, the religion they follow, that religion is called Zoroastrianism. Now Zoroastrianism is very interesting because it believes in duality of power. Just if you contrast this with Abrahamic religions such as Christianity, Judaism or Islam, then in Abrahamic religions there is one true God, and जो Satan है, that Satan is a creation of God who initially was an archangel, right? He was an angel, but then he doubted God's creation, and because of that he was thrown to hell, and now he becomes Satan or Shaitan, जो word हम use करते हैं. So there is clearly a monotheism, that there is one supreme power, and जो evil है, that evil is creation of Satan, right? So because he of course does not like that God had sent him to hell. That is common across all Abrahamic religions. जो Zoroastrianism है, that believes in a duality of power, that there is a fire god and there is an ice god, and fire god and ice god, they are now involved into eternal struggle. Now it is up to Zoroastrianisms, who follow basically, who worship fire god, that fire god is ultimately going to emerge victorious, but they have equal power compared to Abrahamic religion. By the way, this is the central plot of, if you have watched Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones का जो book है, that starts from a song of ice and fire, right? वहाँ पे भी जो दो gods हैं, one is fire god and then there is ice god. So the Zoroastrianism है, even today that is followed, not to the same extent what it was. तो जो सबसे famous book है Zoroastrianism का, Zend-Avesta, that has lot of similarity with Rig Veda. Similarly, you have many Greek texts such as Iliad, which is a very famous Greek text that has similarity with Rig Veda. So that is also common, right? You find similar terms, similar type of language. So linguistic analysis, that tells you a lot of similarities between these texts. Then there is another very similar thing, that worship of fire, for example, is common. Fire is worshipped across many Aryan tribes, and so is worship of a plant called som plant. अब जो som plant है, that is very interesting. Som plant का जो origin है and इसका जो identity है, that even today remains debatable. But som plant often is associated with intoxicating properties. That is why the term for wine or madira will be somras, right? There is a term called somras which basically represents wine. So the worship of som plant, that is again popular across many Aryan tribes. So these are some of the features that how many Aryan tribes they share some sort of similarity. But nonetheless, the tribes who came to India, they are called Indo-Aryans. They intermingled with early settlers into India, and that led to a distinctive culture which became very different from other Aryan tribes. But at the same time, you can find similarities. जैसे Greeks का जो main god है वो Zeus है. Zeus का जो main weapon है वो क्या है? Firebolt, thunderbolt. And Indra का main weapon क्या है? Again Vajra, who is very similar, which is very similar to a thunderbolt, right? So Thor also again is a Norse god, and Thor का जो power है again that hammer, but also with this hammer he can use a thunderbolt. So there is lot of similarity here, that how religious ideas are very similar. So they differed also, but you can find this element of similarities. तो आप लिख सकते हो, there are similarities between Rig Veda and Zendavesta and Zendavesta, an important text of Zoroastrianism, an important text of Zoroastrianism. Write down next point. Worship of fire and som plant. Worship of fire and som plant is prevalent among many Aryan tribes. Many Aryan tribes. Have you written about spoked wheel chariot? तो आप उसको लिख लो. Aryans domesticated horses. Aryans domesticated horses and used spoked wheels. Used spoked wheels. There is another very interesting similarity between Indra, who is one of the important god in early Vedic age, and Zeus, that they both are of very loose character, right? So that is also a similarity here, right? Anyways, so they domesticated horses and used spoked wheel chariots. They used cremation for dead bodies. Cremation for dead bodies. Cremation for dead bodies. So give the next reading. Early Vedic age. So I'm going to compare and contrast that how things changed or remained the same during early Vedic age and later Vedic age. My parameters will be that what type of society we are talking about, what type of political setup we are talking about, what are the religious elements prevalent in the society, right? What type of economy also we are talking about. So on these parameters, we are going to compare the early Vedic age and later Vedic age. So early Vedic age time period will be 1500 to 1100 BC. इसमें बस एक लाइन में लिख लेना. It coincides with compilation of Samhita portion of Rig Veda. Samhita portion of Rig Veda. Samhita portion of Rig Veda. Let me explain this line also. Rig Veda has 10 mandalas, but not all these 10 mandalas were compiled simultaneously. In fact, the first mandala and the 10th mandala, both of them were compiled later. The second to 9th mandala, they were compiled earlier, right? जैसे जो पूरा concept of Varna classification है, that is not present when Aryans came to India. But only in the 10th mandala, the concept of Varna system is mentioned. There is a very famous part of 10th mandala which is called Purush Sukta. Purush is some sort of cosmic being, very difficult to pinpoint. Don't confuse the term Purush with male. Purush is a cosmic being which has to be sacrificed, and through this sacrifice emerged the 4 Varnas. The mind became Brahman, the hand became Rajanya with Kshatriya, the thighs became Vaishya, and the feet became Shudras, right? So, there are 2 things here. First is that it is talking about an integral part, that all of these body parts are integral to existence of society, right? So we cannot imagine any part away from the body. So all these four classifications are integral for society. The second thing is that many historians feel that placing of organs actually represents some sort of social hierarchy. That mind represents Brahman, Brahmans have access to knowledge, Rajanya, who are now to rule, represented by hand, Kshatriya, so Vaishya, they do the most of the economic activity in fact, and Shudras are at the service of other three varnas. But ये जो पूरा story है Purush Shukta and sacrifice of cosmic being, that is a version that emerges in 10th mandala and which by the way was compiled later. So there are two things. First, Varna system does not exist when Aryans came to India. And by the way, even when it does exist, Varna system is not exactly some sort of social hierarchy. That आपका जो social society में जो status है, that is fixed by your birth. That is what happens it right now. That, by the way, caste entirely is a different classification. Do not confuse between Varna and caste. I will come to caste also later. But as of now, there is no caste. This is only and only Varna system I am talking about. So, and by the way, Varna mein social mobility does exist. There is a very famous mantra in Rig Veda where a children is saying that he is a reciter of hymn, his father is some bard, his mother is, she does some other work. So, the most accepted theory is that the Varna's classification hai, that was mainly based on your occupation. And this occupation was not fixed by your birth. कि जो ब्राह्मण का बेटा होगा वो ब्राह्मण बनेगा and वैश्य का बेटा वैश्य बनेगा. So social mobility was very much possible that a person belonging to Shudra, he can also become a Brahman with basically access to knowledge. So there is clear case of social mobility. A lot of mantras are mentioned that social mobility is mentioned. But of course, in later times, it becomes quite rigid and social mobility becomes virtually impossible. That aapka jo identity hai, that will be fixed by your birth itself. The moment you take birth in a particular varn, that varn is fixed to you, right? So before that, just write down in next bullet point, Aryans occupied the region around Punjab and Haryana. This was called land of seven rivers. Land of seven rivers. Sapt Sindhu. This was called land of seven rivers, Sapt Sindhu. So that basically includes Indus, which is Sindhu. Write down all the tributaries, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj and Saraswati. So Indus is called Sindhu. So Jhelum hai, the name of Jhelum is Vitast river. Chenab is called Asikni river. Chenab, Vitast, Chenab. Jo Ravi hai, the name of Ravi here is Parushni river, a very important river. Parushni. Beas is called Vipah. And Satluj is called Sutudri. Saraswati has not survived as such. So we don't have any modern name of Saraswati. So Aryans mainly settled around this location. Write down the next point. The migration may have occurred into many phases. The migration may have occurred into many phases, spread across many decades or centuries, spread across many decades or centuries. In Rig Veda, about 30 tribes and clans are mentioned. About 30 tribes and clans are mentioned. 5 tribes collectively known as Panch Jana. 5 tribes collectively known as Panch Jana are considered the most important tribes. This Panch Jana are Yadu tribe, Turvasha, Puru, Yadu tribe, Turvasha, Puru, Anu and Dhruviyu. Many tribes fought wars among each other. Many tribes fought wars among each other, as well as with non-Aryan tribes. For example, in Battle of 10 Kings, इसको दास रज्ञ वार बोलते हैं. In Battle of 10 Kings, an alliance of 10 tribes was defeated by Bharat chief Sudas, on the banks of river Parushni. Ravi basically. On the banks of river Parushni. ये जो भरत चीफ है, from this Bharat chief you have this name Bharatvarsh. That in later text, this entire geographical feature of India, that includes, by the way, Pakistan, Afghanistan also. So entire Indian subcontinent, that is collectively called Bharatvarsh, and this Bharatvarsh का जो origin है, that comes from this tribe, Bharat tribe, which are mentioned in Rig Vedas themselves. Write down. Many conflicts with Das and Dasyu are mentioned. Many conflicts with Das and Dasyu are mentioned. Who exactly are Das and Dasyus, इसको लेके भी काफ़ी सारा debate है. If you read R.S. Sharma, you are going to find that the term Das जो है, that is also mentioned into some Persian text, right? जो Zoroastrianism text है, वहाँ पे मिलता है. So maybe the term Das represents some early phase of Aryan migration. But जो Dasyu है, they may have been non-Aryan tribe. But if you read Upinder Singh, then because this is a more recent textbook, she mentions that both Das and Dasyu are mentioned into Persian texts, right? So maybe Das and Dasyus, they are some early migrants, and जो later Aryan tribes हैं, they entered into conflict with Dasas and Dasyus, right? But nonetheless, जैसे एक जो सबसे famous theory है, which is also used by R.S. Sharma, that Dasa and Dasyus, they were conquered, they were defeated, and they became Shudras, the fourth varna of, and in fact Shudras का जो पूरा surname है, जैसे in later text in Dharma Shastras, different varnas are supposed to have different type of surname. For example, a Brahman should known with the name Sharman, a Kshatriya should known by the name Varman, a Vaishya should be known by the name Gupta, and Shudra should be known with the surname of Das. तो ये जो later text है, that basically is a basis that some historians think that Dasas and Dasyus which are mentioned in Rig Veda, as they were conquered, they became Shudras at the service of other three varnas. That is a theory. Okay, आप लिख सकते हो Dasas and Dasyus were conquered and they may have become Shudras, the fourth varna. I will talk about varna classification in detail. Write down next point. Bharat tribe joined an alliance with Puru tribe. Bharat tribe joined an alliance with Puru tribe. This alliance was called Kuru. Kuru tribe and Panchal tribe. Remained most important tribes for many years. And in fact, again, knowledge of Mahabharata, you can use it, that Kuru, जो term पूरा Kuru है, जो Kuru वंश है, because Kuru वंश, Pandav and Kaurav, they belong to same clan. Their clan is Kuru clan, right? But then they're fighting over property. Similarly, the Panchal clan is also mentioned, but right now it is a clan. Remember that. As of now, the territorial concept did not emerge. In early Vedic age, the territorial concept that this particular piece of land belongs to a particular clan, that did not emerge. We are talking about dwelling units. These tribes dwelt from one location to another location. So we are talking about dwelling units as of now. But later when it became territorial, the kingdoms were called, kingdoms or dynasties were known by this name, right? So Panchal kingdom or Kuru Vanshi or a place called Kurukshetra, which even today exists. So all of that goes back to this alliance of Bharat and Puru. At one point of time, they had fought in the Dasaragya war. Bharat tribe had emerged victorious, but then they joined alliance with Puru, which is later called Kuru. Right? Right? Give the next heading. Economy. So economy में ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है, just few things. System of exchange is barter. We do not find any coinage as such from Vedic age. तो Vedic जो coins का जो development है, that happens in Mahajanpad period. We will discuss about that also. So system of exchange is barter, but economy में even though agriculture is known, but the most important economic activity is animal rearing. Because जो Vedas है, they give lot of focus to animals. For example, the most important animal is Ashwa, because it is mentioned the most number of time. The second most important animal is cow, because the term go is mentioned the second most number of time. In fact, there are many words which are derived from go. जैसे for example, प्रॉपर्टी ओनर को हम गोपति बोलेंगे, राइट? और टाइम, इवनिंग टाइम को हम गोधुली वेला बोलेंगे, राइट? सो देर आर मेनी वर्ड्स विच डिराइव, अ माउंटेन इज कॉल्ड गोवर्धन. So lot of words are derived from the term go. Or forget that, there is a term for war also which derives from go, which is Gavishthi. And what it signifies is that tribes often fought among each other for cows. That one of the important possession was cows. So that does signify that animal rearing was a very important economic activity, even though agriculture was known. आप लिख सकते हो? Animal rearing was the most important economic activity, even though advanced knowledge of agriculture was known. Advanced knowledge of agriculture was known. Copper was used in large scale. Copper was used in large scale. It was called IAS. तो जो माइंस से जो निकलता है, कॉपर माइंस, फॉर एग्जांपल देयर इज अ वेरी फेमस कॉपर माइन इन राजस्थान, खेतरी रीजन. सो दिस खेतरी रीजन का जो कॉपर माइन है, दैट वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर पीपल ऑफ इंडस वैली आल्सो एंड आर्यंस आल्सो, आर्यन ट्राइब आल्सो. सो दे कॉल्ड इट अयस. इवन टुडे द टर्म फॉर ओर इज अयस्क. हिंदी में जब ओर को आप ट्रांसलेट करोगे, सो दैट इज अयस्क. तो इसका जो ओरिजिन है, दैट अगेन गोज बैक टू वैदिक पीरियड. Early use of iron is also found however more extensive use occurred in later Vedic period. In later Vedic period. Write down next point. Ashwa, horse, was the most important animal. Ashwa was the most important animal. And the basis of this, by the way, I don't know how foolproof this argument is, but the basis of this is how many times they are mentioned in hymns of Rig Veda. They are mentioned most number of times. Followed by cow. Ashwa was the most important animal. Followed by go. Cow. Wars were fought for possession of cows. Wars were fought for possession of cows. For example, a term for war is Gavishthi. Right? So, animal rearing, the most important economic activity. Now let's talk about the polity and society. What type of political setup we are talking about? So we are talking about tribal units right now. Very similar to tribal society, these are dwelling units. They are not fixed units as such. They have not settled. They are roaming around in the region of Indus River. So tribe, however, had a chief. That chief was called Rajan. So tribal, there is a tribal chief who is called Rajan. Rajan का जो position है, that is hereditary, but at the same time his power is not absolute, right? So his power is actually limited by tribal assemblies, and there are many tribal assemblies which are mentioned in Rig Veda. For example, you have Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata. There are many different type of tribal assemblies which may have done which may have been important for different type of things. Please. That disturbs class. Right? So there are many tribal assemblies which are mentioned, and tribal assemblies may, different type of tribal assemblies, different type of people participated. In some assemblies, in fact, all of the people participated. In some assemblies, only elites participated. But जो सबसे important assemblies थे, even women could participate. So that is one feature which you should know. The tribal assemblies limited the power of Rajan, जो tribal chief है. And in these tribal assemblies which took the decision associated with the tribe for the entire clan, and even women could participate in this decision making power. तो आप लिख सकते हो it was a tribal chiefdom. It was a tribal chiefdom. I'm talking about political setup. It was a tribal chiefdom with chief called Rajan. With chief called Rajan. Chief called Rajan. The position of chief was hereditary. The position of chief was hereditary. However, his power was not absolute. His power was not absolute. Tribal assemblies such as Sabha, tribal assemblies such as Sabha, in bracket you can write assembly of elites, assembly of elites, Samiti, assembly of people, assembly of people, and Vidata, assembly of tribe, played an important role in decision making. Women participated in these assemblies, especially जो Sabha and Vidhata है. You find that women participated in Sabha and Vidhata. Women participated in assemblies. देखो ट्राइबल चीफ है. अपार्ट फ्रॉम ट्राइबल चीफ जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पोजीशन है वो पुरोहित का है. देयर आर टू पुरोहित्स विच आर मेंशन्ड इन वेदास. टू मोस्ट फेमस वन इज वशिष्ठ, अनदर इज विश्वामित्र. टाइमलाइन बहुत मुश्किल है, एग्जिस्टेंस प्रूव करना भी बहुत मुश्किल है, बट वन थिंग इज वेरी क्लियर दैट वशिष्ठ इज क्वाइट कंजर्वेटिव, विश्वामित्र इज लिटिल लिबरल. दैट वशिष्ठ डज नॉट वांट आर्यन फोल्ड टू एक्सपैंड, but Vishwamitra is open to include more and more people as part of Aryan fold if they can recite Gayatri Mantra. Right? So there is a concept of Gayatri Mantra which is mentioned by the way in the Rig Veda itself. Right? So reciting Gayatri Mantra, that basically means that even more tribes can become part of this larger Aryan fold. Vishwamitra is open to this idea, Vashisht is not. Right? So Vashisht and Vishwamitra jo hai, they are mentioned in Rig Veda also, they are mentioned in later Vedic ages also. Right? So I will talk about them later also. Write down the next point in polity itself. There was no regular system of taxation. There was no regular system of taxation. People offered voluntarily to tribal chief or Rajan. People offered voluntarily to Rajan, which was called Bali. Bali. So Bali is not obligatory, it is voluntary. That because tribal chief का एक जो सबसे important responsibility क्या है, that to protect the tribe and to ensure its prosperity. So tribal chief जो है, tribal chief has not maintained as such any regular system of taxation. But at the same time, people are expected, because he is the protector of the entire tribe, people are expected to provide tributes to the tribal chief. These tributes, however, are based on how much you can actually provide to the chief, and it is clearly not obligatory, it is voluntary. That changes, by the way, in later Vedic age. एक और लाइन आप लिख सकते हो. Rajan did not maintain a standing army. Rajan did not maintain a standing army. Rajan did not maintain a standing army. अब इसका क्या मतलब है? That it did not have any dedicated group of people जिनका पर्पस सिर्फ और सिर्फ फाइटिंग है. ठीक है. In later kingdoms we find this in a proper established kingdom, right? In fact आप ये भी लिख सकते हो, the concept of territorial unit, the concept of territorial unit did not emerge in early Vedic age. This is quite important because all of us carry different type of identities, right? For example, if I am talking about among all of us, then the most important identity is that we belong to this country, India, right? That is our national identity. But apart from that, we also have regional identity. We have lot of identity. Many of these identities are frankly based on where you have taken birth, in what type of class or caste or religion, things like that. So we have caste identity, religious identity, regional identity, linguistic identity, right? So these identities play a very important role in our life. Many of them, they should not, but it does play a very important role in our life. So यहाँ पे जो loyalty है, we often show some sort of loyalty to a particular identity, right? So जो loyalty है, this loyalty does not belong to a territory. The loyalty belongs to the tribe itself, and the term for tribe here is jana. So the term jan है, that basically means tribe, and the primary loyalty is to the jan itself. And by the way, jan is not an established unit. Jan is a dwelling unit. It moves from one location to another location. At the same time, there are many units of classification. You have a concept called vish, a concept called kul, right? So there are many units of classification, and frankly some textbook tried to distinguish between them or among them, but it's very difficult frankly to pinpoint the exact differences. So आप ये लिख भी सकते हो. The primary loyalty of people belonged to jan. The primary loyalty of people belonged to jan, which basically means tribe. Many units of division are mentioned. Many units of division are mentioned, such as jan, vish, gan, gram. Jan, vish, gan, gram. Their exact meaning is often not very clear. Their exact meaning is often not very clear. Their exact meaning is often not very clear. However, that goes without saying that all of these terms have established meaning in later period. जैसे gram becomes village. Village का जो translation है, that is गांव और gram. Vish is also used as a unit of classification by later kings. The term jan जो है, this term jan leads to another term called janpad, which by the way is not mentioned in early Vedic age at all. And this janpad later becomes mahajanpad. And जो janpad है, this is what represents smaller kingdoms, and mahajanpad represents larger kingdoms. So jan, which initially represents tribe, not a geographical territory, but later it is associated with the term Jan leads to Janpad, right, which is a small kingdom, and some of those small kingdoms in later period became Mahajanpad, जो हमारा next topic होगा. Once we complete Vedic age, we are going to talk about Mahajanpad age. So some of those units became larger kingdoms, which are called Mahajanpad, right? Write down the next point. Hymns were composed orally. Hymns were composed orally and not written down. Not written down. And the last two things. First is what type of society we are talking about. तो देखो सोसाइटी जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो क्या चीजें होती हैं. In society we do analysis at various levels. The first level of analysis can be family itself. कि what type of family setup we are talking about. जैसे in patriarchal family often you are going to find a male head. That there is a male head who takes most of the important decisions, right? Preference given to daughter or sons, if there is a preference, that also is another feature of patriarchal family. So that is first level of classification at family level. And then of course you do the classification at the overall social level, society level. So for example, is there any basis of social stratification? Social society में divisions होते ही होते हैं, across all the society division होते हैं, but वो division का basis क्या है? तो ये division का basis, it turns out that initially even though it is an egalitarian society, tribal society often do not have lot of differences, but later some differences emerge in later part of early Vedic age with this classification of Varna system. The term Varna system that emerges in later part of early Vedic age, because Rig Veda का जो 10th mandal है, that does talk about this fourfold classification of society, which by the way is considered as an integral part of the entire existence itself. But at the same time, this fourfold classification, many historians feel that it was not rigid. Rigid in the sense that there were mobilities. Mobility का मतलब ये होता है कि varnas जो है, your identity is not fixed by your birth, but by your actions. With different actions, if someone, for example, has scholastic achievements, then even though born in, let's say, a Shudra family, can become a Brahman. That is the meaning of mobility. So many historians believe that mobility definitely was possible in case of early Vedic age. However, that definitely changed in later Vedic age. Another aspect which we study in society is position of woman in the society. Now, position of woman in the society is frankly a very abstract question. We have to ask more concrete questions. Things like that, do they have right to education? Do they have right in important decision making? Do they have right to property? Things like that. Ancestral property or in general property decision making में property से related जो भी decision making हो वहाँ पे जो है कितना participate कर सकते हैं? Are they restricted in some sort of jobs, right? Even though they could, but they cannot, right? There are few things which make sense that because of physical differences. There are few things which make sense, but few things which does not make sense, and still women are not allowed. Now that is again a patriarchal feature, right? So these questions will be more important questions. And again it turns out that even though society is patriarchal, जैसे people often pray for son as their descendant, not daughters, right? But at the same time, it cannot be called that the position of woman is very bad in society, like compared to what happens in later Vedic age, that women are playing a very important decision-making role, maybe at family level also, but definitely at the level of tribe, because they are participating into tribal assemblies. There are many Brahmavadinis mentioned, so they also have access to education, right? Property का as such, private property का concept अभी emerge हुआ नहीं है कि ये जो land है ये हमारा, this belongs to us. तो right to property को answer करना बहुत मुश्किल है कि whatever property is, that property is actually movable property, right? Not immovable. जैसे land is a immovable property. तो land का concept, private ownership का concept early Vedic age में emerge नहीं होता है. So जो भी movable property है, do daughters have a right? Very difficult question to answer, right? But at the same time, the position definitely declined into later Vedic age. So you can write down few things here. Okay, one more thing. The term Varna, first of all, the term Varna basically literally translates to color. So many historians used this, that Aryans maybe they had fairer colors, and जो early settlers थे, they were not so fair, and they used color as a social stratification, right? So this was a theory, but even in fact many historians, अगर आप आर्य शर्मा पढ़ोगे, उपिंदर सिंह भी पढ़ोगे, many historians do not believe it, that color may have led to some sort of consciousness, that there is some consciousness about color, but that did not become the basis of social stratification. In fact, जो conquering other tribes हैं, जैसे दासas and dasyus, that may be in fact a bigger basis that they became Shudras. So color, even though the term Varn means color, but color का जो use for social stratification, that has often been exaggerated by many historians. This is the most accepted theory as of now. तो आप लिख सकते हो society में. Society, write down the basis of social stratification. The basis of social stratification was Varn classification. However, the origin of Varna system belongs to 10th mandala of Rig Veda. 10th mandala of Rig Veda, in a section called Purush Shukta. In a section called Purush Sukta. However, 10th mandala was compiled later. 10th mandala was compiled later. Tenth mandala was compiled later. Write down the next point. A sacrifice of cosmic being called Purush. Sacrifice of cosmic being called Purush is associated with four social categories. Brahman, Rajanya, which later becomes Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Brahman, Rajanya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Write down the next point. The term Varna is not mentioned in Purushukta. The term Varna is not mentioned in Purushukta. Varna means color. Varna means color. Whose basis as social stratification. Has been exaggerated by many historians. Many historians. Okay, there is a question. Anyways, we'll continue this discussion next class. There are two questions from online students. That the एक जो हमने question discuss किया था about Indus Valley being secular civilization. I will repeat secular civilization. Guys, please, just for 1 minute. 1 minute. Secular civilization basically means that religion. Secular civilization का मतलब ये नहीं होता है कि religion completely absent है. Right? जैसे European countries or even India claims to be secular. Secularism का definition in India and in Europe that will be different. In Europe there is a complete separation of state and religion. In India there is an equidistance. So religion is present, but we claim ourselves to be a secular society. So does many other countries. So even though that is the meaning of here is that even though religious elements are present, but religion did not dominate the scene. That was the most important line. That is why the first statement is correct. Slavery in Rig Veda, जो दासास and दास्युस जो conquered people हैं, who became Shudras at the service of other three varnas, some of the Persians associate that with slavery, right? Slavery as it was practiced in later times or it was practiced in other civilizations, that is very different from what the term Dasa and Dasyu means. Anyways, we'll continue this discussion. We will talk about later Vedic age and Mahajanpad period in the next class.